Hello everybody and welcome back. I am Mr. JP and the game is out of ore. Sorry for the little pause at the start of the video there. Just the way the software works. For some reason it's starting me mute. I don't know why, so I had to unmute the mic. Anyway, big thank you to all the viewers out there, all the people commenting. Nice to see, glad you're enjoying the game. Big thank you to all the subscribers out there because this is the big video, it's a big day. Just broke 100 subscribers for the first time. Quite a surprise really to me because when I started making these videos, sort of designed for 2 or 3 friends. Never expected this much interest, so big thank you to you all. Means a lot. It does mean a lot. In the fact that it's a bit weird. I'd feel really strange standing in front of 100 people and talking about stuff, but it's perfectly fine like this. Really odd. So yeah, the power of YouTube, power of technology, amazing thing. So we got this nice 5-way machine, I guess, and it's been running away pretty well. We've got 67 million, I think that's level 61 in the background there. So in effort, what does that look like? Well, it looks like this. That's the biggest loader in the game, and that's a big hole, and it's a big sea of conveyor belts, and I'm slowly just munching my way into this hill underground really. Next phase will be to take out this layer of pay dirt and coal that you can see in the ceiling here. And if you look over here, there's actually a little smidgen of coal in this point. But that's probably not worth going upwards for, probably more going downwards for. And I think there is a bit more in this wall behind some of this white stuff, so yeah, we're going to get into this today. Get into this a bit more strip mining. What I'm doing there is just checking there's actually conveyors underneath everywhere I can. Yep, there was a missing one there. Some of the viewers have been saying how therapeutic they find the game and playing, or even just watching videos, and it's very true. It's very true. I have a similar sensation when playing. Time just flies by. Flies by. All of a sudden you've lost 2 or 3 hours of the evening. Or as in, well, kind of the case last night, I lost most of the night to the game. Yes, Mr. JP shamefully hanging his head and pulling the all-nighter. So, but I needed to make some progress, guys, you know. Like can't make progress in a great big strip mine if you don't put the hours in, and that is something I cannot stress enough. If you're thinking about buying the game, it's a worthy buy, it's a worthy simulator to own. But if you haven't got the time, creative might be the way forward for you. Because it does take a while to get through. If you just want to play with the big machines, I think it's about 10 to 20 hours to make out the level up tree. So realistically, if some people don't have that time to put in, and some people, let's be honest, not as patient a gamer as I am. I mean, I grew up in a world where it took 45 minutes to load your game. Yeah, I'm old, and I remember old computing. And by old computing, computer bugs back then was because a moth got into a switch somewhere. I'm not that old. I am joking around a little bit there, but I do remember the days when cassette tapes, which basically don't exist and haven't existed for a while, were how you loaded up your game. And I think there were 45 minutes to a side, and some games you had to turn over. So you could, for a large game, be looking at sort of a 90-minute load time. So yeah, a bit like that dodgy meme. You thought your respawn time was bad, and there's a picture of Jesus. It took me 3 days to respawn. Yeah, don't get me started. Oh, hello, the roof's coming in at me. So yeah, I'm going to have to extend this drift at some point, because we're nearly at the edge of the start of the drift there. It's either upwards or inwards, one of the two. Not sure which way to go on it. Blasting. Need to do some more blasting. Go over from this end, I guess. Just put a bit in there. Bit there. Bit there. Anfo I tend to use in quite a concentrated fashion. and just like Banksy at a public building. Really, just spread it in, spread it around. You can see there that mud patch where that last one went off in the pay dirt, and that's why I don't blast pay dirt if I can help it. I prefer taking it out with a loader, even above the sort of run in. So yeah, now it's more of the same. Just keep on cutting away, but you can really cut. Let it rain, I think is the word, as this lot heads into the machinery. Now, I don't know what to do to celebrate the amount of subscribers, I really don't. I did think about getting decorative. There's some roleplay stuff that I need to do, but I'm going to do that stuff anyway. It's not really that kind of thing. I mean, I suppose at some point I should really vary my gaming hobbies. Been doing a lot of Out of All, but I spent a day yesterday on another game and then it wouldn't reload because the game was too complicated and crashed. So yeah, not much satisfaction there. Back to the old school days of gaming of you know, 40 minutes of load time only to find out that the game has an error. Those were bad days. Like, there was no such thing as a rage quit back then. There was just rage and restart or give up. Rage quitting wasn't a factor when it would take you another 40 minutes to load the game. Ah, those were the days. Still, I sort of miss the days of turn-based strategy games. I was looking at a World War II sim the other day and playing it is so boring it's like watching paint dry, literally. Just the amount of time it takes units to move around on the map, and yeah. I like turn-based strategy, it's kind of cool, needs to come back. And not in a simplified cutesy cartoon form. If you want an example of a nice old school game like that, Steel Panthers 2 Modern Battles. There is a Windows version available for free if you want to give it a go, and I highly recommend it. Good, clean bit of fun. Allows you to sandbox sim a lot of different excuse me, a lot of different military tactics. And just play around a little really with some of the weapons of modern combat that you see on the news being deployed and think, well, how does that work? You can learn it in that, find out the reasons for them being there, that kind of thing. So yeah, interesting. Sort of like a gateway game. You find things in that and you look them up and Google them. There's a few games around that are sort of that way. Realistically, this isn't about the value of what I'm digging out. This is about just getting a bit of angle. I find myself constantly adding to this thing. Just more conveyors. More conveyors. Because it just gets bigger and bigger. And this is what, you know, dumper trucks, big mines are for, is so they don't have acres of conveyors like this, but time spent driving dumpers is time when you're not digging. It's that simple to me at the moment, unfortunately. Once we can program dumpers with like AIs along routes or something, that'll be pretty cool. Like they're doing in the real mines at the moment. Sort of AI vehicles and stuff that drive themselves around. Probably the way forward. Likewise, fast deployable railways. Sort of like lightweight railways, you just lay them down anywhere, do your thing on them with automated trains, move on. And they are doing that, but it's not lightweight railways, it's like big railways. And they're running between huge mines in Australia and coastal ports and stuff. I have slated the company recently. They're probably sending assassins to kill me right now, but yeah, Rio Tinto, I'm looking at you. Um, some amazing technologies going down over there, and at the same time, such amazing ignorance. But there we go. I suppose when you're taking the entire landscape away, it's a bit difficult to restore it to its former glory. So I can see why there's certain disharmonies between, you know, Aboriginal peoples, environmentalists, and large-scale mining operations, because they kind of all have objectives that don't go hand in hand. But there we go. That's modern industry. It's going to get quite interesting in the future because the Chinese currently control the market in rare earth metals pretty much, and rare earth metals are required for all your lovely electric cars, all your environmentalists out there. Personally, I think hydrogen cars are the way to go, and accept the risk that your car could explode, because it does anyway when it's running on electricity and lithium. But we won't get into that. Car fire companies, I'm looking at you. For those that don't know, I follow a bit of maritime news and that kind of thing, and there's been an uptick in the last couple of years of fires on car carriers, and it's electric cars, people. It's not just electric cars. There have been fires on car carriers carrying just standard cars as well, but there overall seems to be a battery safety issue, because those cars that did catch fire that were normal engined were hybrids, so they did actually contain a lithium polymer battery. So perhaps they're not as safe as everybody makes out. I know that the only place where I've really used lithium polymer batteries until recent technologies have come into play was in radio-controlled models and in my airsoft guns. And even there, we're meant to have fireproof bags to dump a bad battery and stop exploding and hurting everybody. And that applies in a bigger way to the model aircraft guys. I've never messed with model aircraft. I run everything on the old NiCad and NiMH batteries that's radio controlled. None of mine are lithium. So they're nice and safe to charge up, reasonably safe to use, don't have a tendency to generate large amounts of hydrogen when ruptured or explode. So I didn't realise how dangerous they were until someone's car got burned out by the battery for his radio controlled plane. Because it was just in there and went up and set fire to the car, obviously. So yeah, it's going to be an interesting one. But all of this electric car shenanigans will come to a swift end if the Chinese decide, yeah, actually no one else is having any rare earth metals from our mines, because they own everything. So yeah, it's kind of awkward. I can't remember what the percentage supply of rare earth metal is that's owned by Chinese industry, but it's huge. It's, I think 70 to 90%, something in there. I'd need to look it up. My figures are pretty old. Hopefully someone's doing something about it and finding some more rare earth metals, because the current supply of lithium does not match the demand. But then again, the amount of gold being ripped out of the ground compared to the demand is sort of uneven. Likewise for silver, and this is quite interesting because those two metals have certain properties in other applications. Silver is a very useful electrical conductor. One of the places where it's used is in atomic engineering, but not in the way you might think. There were an awful lot of silver assigned to the Manhattan Project. And it's not because it's used to make, but it's kind of used to make the bombs. It's used in refinement, in certain ways of refining, either as iodide or as cable, to make magnetic fields. So a lot of silver disappearing. I mean, I think there was 11,000 tons of silver used in the calutrons of the Manhattan Project. I think I'm right in that. I'd have to check. But yeah, so anyone who's stockpiling a large amount of silver that's off the books could be using it for something crazy. Or maybe they've got a paranoia and they're going to go hunting werewolves and vampires, who knows. Anything's possible these days. So yeah, that's one problem. Gold is the other weird one. Gold's used in electronics, so if you're making a lot of weapons you don't want sold on the open market, you need gold from somewhere. there's one way that gold can go missing from the market. Another way, yeah, that is actually used inside certain weapon systems in quite significant amounts. Ironically, I think it's one of them. I think it's either gold or platinum that's used somewhere in the manufacturing of the hoods for Russian fighter jets, and possibly American ones as well. So yeah, there's quite a few uses for these different materials that range from electric cars through to other things, and gold and silver are just two examples, obviously, of a very wide-ranging array of different materials. Without them, nothing works. So that's kind of for those of you who've got a thing against mining and that kind of thing. Just remember that some of the lovely technologies we have today don't work without it. It's kind of like saying, well, we like food, but we don't like farming. Kind of ironic. Kind of ironic. But yeah, definitely food for thought. Like if you ever want a subject matter to think about, the world supply of metals compared to the demand is quite an interesting one. Very interesting. And how it's monitored to monitor other things, like the way satellite reconnaissance is used to monitor nuclear production. It's like, well, how does that work? But when you realise the size of the facilities required to do anything bad with nuclear materials, they're looking for a big building with a massive power supply. It's that simple, and that's visible from space. So yeah, that makes sense. Likewise, the kind of land distortions you see from underground testing, they're visible from space by like space-based radars for land mapping and that kind of thing. So it's ironically probably a civilian satellite that'll end up seeing that kind of behaviour first. I think it quite often is though. There's been several instances where events, not necessarily nuclear, some of them are unknown what caused them, and some of them are known what caused them, and they're caused by volcanic eruptions or earthquakes or known explosions of chemical processing plants and that kind of thing that have been spotted by these things. And they're just like a flash detector on a satellite, so quite a lot of satellites are fitted with them, and they can detect directions and stuff, and boom, et voila, there's a flash on the surface of the Earth, and it knows roughly what direction it was in. Several satellites pick it up, and you can tell what direction it was, how bright it was, how long it was, all these kind of things from the sensors. And that brings me on to what I was going to talk about, which is detecting ore in out of ore. I need to look through it and have a little look-see for drills and stuff and find out how to use them again, because I haven't used them in this version. I haven't used them since the first version, really, when we swapped over to this newer model. So yeah, it's a field that I think needs work. I think it'd be kind of cool if the explosives could be combined with either a vehicle that can detect direction of ore. So if you could use two of them to get a triangulation and display it on the map, or just use the map to display where you get hits from seismic charges. It'd be kind of cool to bring that aspect of the underground engineering into play, the science side of things. But it is quite complicated and quite difficult to do, and I think possibly would require a different geological model, so don't hold your breaths for anything like that. The old school drill might still be in the game. I need to have a look, and currently looking at the map and spotting the dark patches appears to be the method of choice. For those of you who hunting around in maps looking for ore, that's the way forward. It seems to work for most of the maps. If you're going into the one that's like the quarry that's been cut away in the bottom of the valleys and it's quite steep sided and the map's basically been ripped apart, look for the areas. You won't see pure ores in that map. You'll see them, they're all mixed in. So you're looking for something with a darker texture for coal, lighter texture for lithium. You just go around the sides of the valley and you'll see this bedrock texture that I'm in at the moment. That's what the bottom of that valley is made of. So on that map you can go straight into the gravel if you want to, and really get going on the game. It's quite early on because you don't have to dig through any topsoil. At the same time, digging out gravel at the start can be a bit of a pest. So you might want those first 22 levels to get to explosives or to unlock the dumpers. Not dumpers, unlock the dozers. So yeah, that map, a little bit challenging. I haven't actually played much of the snow terrain, so I've heard that's a bit difficult because there's no dark patches on any of the map. But once again, I haven't played that one too much. Mainly spent my time in this map and the quarry map and the original map, ironically. Spent a lot of time sort of running through bits and pieces on that for no apparent accountable reason other than I was just having a bit of fun. But that was the first version of the game, but that holds true now. That first version is the tutorial map, I believe. That map, for where certain things are located and stuff inside it, is pretty similar to how it used to be. So there's certain places you can go and there are massive lithium seams in that map. There are probably in this coal map as well, I just haven't found any yet. I chose this side for the coal content, which wouldn't be apparent from the side that I've dug out. I actually chose to start in the lower yield side, as it were, for whatever reason. Maybe because I'm some kind of sadist, I don't know. But it appears to be paying off. I'm watching that cash counter and that XP counter, and it's just slowly creeping up all the time from doing this. So, like, you don't have to be a mining genius, you just got to be dedicated. I'm assuming that's how Rio Tinto work, because their behaviour is definitely not genius at certain times in management strategy, but I'm assuming that the people who work down at the bottom just keep digging, and that's what makes them successful. Yeah, I'm probably going to get a comment from someone who works at Rio Tinto now. That'd be kind of funny and kind of cool because I need a job with some remote control vehicles, so that'd be awesome. Especially from the UK, just sit in the UK and drive vehicles in Australia. Like, I mean, there's some crazy chick who's a senator, and she's got a point on a lot of things, but her attitude sucks. I should imagine her reaction to finding out that the radio-controlled mining wagons being used by Rio Tinto are being controlled by Brits from the UK would probably be freak-out territory. It would be hilarious to see, but I wouldn't want to be nearby in the same room. I'd want to see it from the UK. There's a few situations like that. Internationally, people may not be aware, but a few years ago Germany had a Prime Minister, Angela Merkel, and she was one female Prime Minister that I would not have wanted to have seen angry. Yeah, quite scary in a Maggie Thatcher kind of way, which is probably a compliment rather than a diss, but at the same time she's kind of responsible for what's happening in Ukraine at the moment, so yeah, don't ask how that works, it's really complicated, but essentially if she hadn't done what she did, they'd have been part of NATO and we wouldn't be having this conversation. Most of Eastern Europe would probably be glass instead, so in some ways it might be a good thing. One thing the Germans do know about is nuclear politics. The Cold War made sure of that. Do you realise our country is going to be the next nuclear desert after the World War III? Oh yeah, well I suppose we probably better drive for some peace in Europe. It was a good idea. So down came the Berlin Wall and they ended the Cold War, which pretty smooth move, though to be fair, I'm going to be honest, I think what ended the Cold War was the cost of the clean-up of Chernobyl. Like, that thing cost a bomb, especially when you added it to all the other disasters like Mayak and the Ural Sea. And yeah, I'm going to stop listing Soviet accidents because we'll be here all night. 100 nuclear submarines that needed decommissioning in 1990 something that still need decommissioning, missing radioactive sources of cobalt and a couple of others that were used to power stuff out in the middle of nowhere because they couldn't be bothered with running cables. Yeah, I got a list of reasons to have a problem with Soviet Europe. it was kind of brought home after the Chernobyl thing when I was a kid, and we had like when I say victims, like we're talking about people who didn't even live that nearby, who'd had to move out and had been contaminated and a few other things, and they were coming over here from a rest from the situation, really. Quite a thing to at a very young age experience, when coupled with the fact that on your infant school walls there's still blooming posters saying how to recognise US and Russian planes and what to do in the event of it happening. You know, it's never expected to see it happening again when I was 40. I thought the world knew better. There we go. There we go. Mind you, looking at the way they didn't stop the planes during the COVID thing, what do we expect? Yeah. I used to work in clean rooms, stopping bacteria from getting on the stuff we made, and so that includes viruses as well. Basically anything, including dust. I know how to keep something clean, and I know how to stop something getting contaminated, and it does not involve letting everybody come through the door. That's the first rule. No one who doesn't belong in a clean room goes in a clean room, because there's rules and all this kind of thing that you're trained to do. If you work in there and you do them out of second nature, you don't even think about it. Someone else goes in and they don't do the first thing, and it's like, what? Hey, whoa. So yeah, it's funny. Different trades have different standards and levels for that kind of thing, and this starts on building sites. Okay, builders are quite messy, plasterers are messier, and then things start to get tidier. Painters make a mess too, but after that you've got furnishers, you've got carpet fitters, you've got electricians who they make a mess because they don't know how to use a hoover, but the mess they make isn't that messy. Messes come in two types. There's clean mess and dirty mess. Dirty mess is anything wet, like plaster, paint, you name it. Clean mess is stuff you can brush up with a dustpan and brush. Simple. Hoover. Job done. That's clean mess. It only takes one hit and it's tidy. So yeah. The problem with certain things that in manufacturing and industry is that there is no clean mess. Mining's sort of the same deal, in the fact that it's very difficult to tidy it up if it screws up. One of the reasons why I have a bit of a problem with nuclear. They haven't really decommissioned anything nuclear yet, by the way. They just strip off all the bits that they can decommission and then bury the rest. So realistically, there is some kind of carbon cost to the nuclear industry, believe me, and it's huge when you start doing the maths on it. I don't know how much carbon it takes to mine a couple of 100,000 tons of uranium ore when you use diesel loaders built like this. But then you have to process that couple of 100,000 tons down into a couple of, I'm not sure how much it is in mass, but it takes 200,000 tons of ore to make a year's supply of uranium for a nuclear reactor. That 200,000 tons of ore is probably mined in Australia or the Far East, since Russia aren't really exporting much at the moment, and China never do, and India's got a closed market on it at the moment. So yeah, it pretty much all comes from Australia if it's used in the West or in Japan, and it's refined there a bit, and then it's shipped over this way as yellow cake. So that's, I think, 10-to-1 ratio or something. So that 200,000 becomes 20,000 tons of something. Anyway, that's shipped over here to a processing place where it's concentrated again, all using up loads and loads of energy to do it. That energy comes from somewhere, and it's probably coal. Or diesel fuel for the tankers and the mining gear, CO2 released during the processing. There's an awful lot of carbon costs attached to the manufacturing of nuclear fuel. So yeah, if someone tells you that nuclear plant is green, sure it is when it's running, when it's up and running, when it's not having anything done to it. But every worker probably uses a car to get in, and every ton of fuel that it's ever used has gone through a process that generates an awful lot of carbon, not to mention the 40 to 80,000 tons of concrete it's probably made from. That's pretty much one of the biggest carbon costs on the planet. So yeah, nuclear's green. Sorry, I'll get off the subject. As you can tell, I study a lot of things that really are not good at the dinner table or the pub. Hence I don't go out much. It's a bit safer. That's why I get so much Out of War done, amongst other games. I'm playing Out of War, and I play other games that are even more time consuming. One of which, yeah, it's probably going to be some more videos once I figure out how to do it. But I'm taking Second World War manufacturing tactics and using them to manufacture fighter aircraft in a certain space game. Yeah, things are going to get a bit crazy. I'm hoping to build a factory that just pumps fighters out, and they're automated and fly off and just do the drone war thing, so that I can do my thing in space and don't really have to go over there. If you're a follower of my channel, you know what I'm talking about. There's only 4 games on here, and I wasn't talking about shooting zombies or trains. I really must start playing something else, like some armour, and get my joysticks out and do some flying and actually demonstrate what I have some skills in. But at the same time, if I do that, I'll probably get recruited again. Hello, we'd like you to fly for us. We're going to be flying in World War III in 2024. Oh, okay, cool. Just so you know, World War III is not going to start in Ukraine. Before anyone thinks, oh, he knows what's going to happen. I saw something which I happen to agree with from a source I respect the other day, stating that the American government are preparing for bad things in 2024 and big war and stuff, and they're probably right. And it's not going to be China, and it's not going to be Ukraine. It's probably going to be Iran, ironically, from the gossip I've heard, and that is just gossip. That is just idle gossip. I will qualify it. Can't quote my sources. It's all third hand, and it is just idle gossip in the fact that no one's got any evidence for that. But that's what briefings happening in offices are saying at the moment, if that makes sense. And these are public briefings. Anyone can get this information. I have no access to anything that isn't accessible by Googling it, or by a quick YouTube and accepting the fact that you're getting it from someone who, whilst a reputable source, may not have the official word, and they may have been lied to as well. Welcome to governments. But yeah, Middle East might be where it's going to kick, basically. Which would make sense, considering some of the things that are happening. At the same time, I don't want it to. That's bad. Anyone who lives in America is going to hate it even more, because that's going to be high oil costs. This also affects the UK in winter, and Germany especially. So yeah, things are going to get a little bit cool, or a little bit warm, or a little bit of both, in differing amounts. It just depends what goes on now. Personally, I like the cool. I'd like the air conditioning to stay on. I don't want it to be hot and start raining white ash. That would be a bad sign. Though to be fair, if you take out Birmingham, and I'm talking about the UK Birmingham, not the American one, that might not be a bad thing. Nottingham? No, they're also sat in really nice bits of the countryside though, and I'd kind of like to be able to visit without a lead suit. Yeah, awkward choosing targets for like nuclear annihilation, very awkward. The Americans and the Russians solved this. Both had a series of books written during the Cold War, Comparative City Destruction in Megadeaths. You think I'm joking? I'm not. So they knew that they could basically trade blows with nuclear weapons on essentially a city-by-city basis. I'm not sure I'm okay with this style of warfare, to be honest. Like, I like a bit of violence, but I'm quite clean with it. I don't like germ warfare, and whilst I play with nuclear, I don't really like the idea of being bunkmates with a cosmic catastrophe, you know what I'm saying? So, yeah. Not liking, as I say, not liking it at all. But you can't can't be doing mining without thinking. You know, the game's very therapeutic, and your mind wanders. Your mind does wander onto all these really, really philosophical subjects. So yeah, don't really, as I say, know how to celebrate the 100 subscribers thing. Really don't. Staying on track about Out of All would probably be a good start. So yeah, but yeah, once again, thanks to everyone who's subscribing out there. It is free and requires no effort, but probably means you get bugged by pings about my new videos all the time. So thanks for putting up with those, if nothing else. Yeah, it'd be interesting to see what goes on in this mine as well. There's meant to be a short progress report, but 35 minutes already. Time flies when you're having fun, and the game is fun. Like, if you're weighing up buying it, I bet you, if you're weighing up buying this game, you've already got 5 games in your collection that you haven't played in a year. Why not have 6? But you will play this. You'll play it for a bit, and if you're the sort who's not that dedicated to a game, you'll put it down again. Then you'll pick it up in another couple of months' time, and there'll be vehicles added, and cool things have happened, and bits have improved. And so it'll be like a constant Christmas present, you know, constant surprise there, just to be opened up occasionally. And I've got a couple of games like that in my collection, you know. Things that have a lot of promise, but there wasn't much to them a year ago, have flowered. Other things have been bought up and they're on their 2nd or 3rd version. That's early access in developing games, a lot like that, really. Like a present, a gift that keeps on giving. A bit like Vietnam. Sorry. I can't remember what film that's from. Something to do with America. It might be from Hot Shots or a parody of something. Something like Apocalypse Now. Yeah, every country's got a gift that keeps on giving. Somewhere in their history. I think for the UK it's probably Northern Ireland. That one's a gift that keeps on giving. I love Guinness. At the same time, I hate car bombs. So yeah, that's cool. A lot of bad humour here today. I'm sorry, guys. I'm obviously in a really funny mood. It's difficult to know what to talk about. You know, I've made nearly 100 videos, got 100 subscribers, and at the same time, gotta be honest, with the state of my life and what's been happening in the last couple of years, I haven't been out much. I have got no idea what political correctness standards apply. I've got no idea what society classes like acceptable behaviour or talking material. I mean, there's stuff going on I see on the news. People doing things in the street, and I don't class what they're doing as acceptable stuff to do in public, let alone around children. And yet they're telling me that I'm crazy because I talk about like World War III and stuff in public, and it's like, well, guys, like, what's more relevant here? How you feel about your internals, or how I feel about my internals being splattered everywhere by a load of incoming cluster bombs? You know, like sense of reality. Sense of reality has gone completely loopy in my country, I think. Maybe that's what all of this is about. You don't remember the Blitz. Time for another. Ha! It depends on your paranoia levels, by the way, on that one. But if you believe in the New World Order, then you might believe that they're in power. And if you believe in a secret government or the Illuminati, yeah, you might believe they're coming to power. And I'm going to be honest, I can understand that belief. It's all a bit crazy. All a bit crazy. But at the same time, I'm going to quote the James Cameron episode of South Park. The bar needs raising, look at the world, huh? You explain it. So yeah, it's about where I'm at. Currently I just want to look at James Cameron and ask him to explain it. At least I'm not at where most of the male celebrities in the UK appear to be who do daytime TV. They appear to be at the bit where they're in, well, we've all seen the, what's his name, the Clinton guy, the president, yeah, the Bill Clinton episodes of Family Guy. They were funny. They were funny. Hey, you're not getting me. Oh, you're good. Classic. To be fair, I think that's the problem with the current US president. He's just got no panache. Bill Clinton is probably the last one that actually had a character. And even that's saying something, though. Though Bill Clinton's kind of unique as a US president, as he's one of the few to reside admittedly as a senator over what was nearly a massive disaster. So, yeah, kind of interesting. See the footage of that compared to his footage as his time in office, as it were. And yeah, not a completely different guy, but whoa, what a thing to have to talk about in a blooming sit down on TV kind of conversation. Oof, ouch. Talk about walking tight ropes. Rather you than me, Bill. Rather you than me. Unfortunately, the Cold War's full of those kind of incidents, and another reason to not be too pro of what's going on. Once you've seen how the contamination from just an air crash involving nuclear materials and how difficult it is to clear up, scattering them to the four winds by vaporizing the atmosphere is yeah, bit of a crapshoot really. And there Putin is with his status 6 and his big submarines to destroy, continental edges with tsunamis and rah, and it's like, oh, dude, what are you thinking? Like, there are plenty of threats bigger than that out there for us to deal with, like, Yellowstone's about to erupt, there's huge big rocks flying around with enough energy to destroy the entire planet. Yeah, I can think of better uses for your big weapons. I'm scientist enough to know that you can't just lob a big weapon at something flying through space and expect it to explode. It doesn't work that way. One of the few things Armageddon did right was to get that one out the window. Yeah. So ironically, like our favourite company, OceanGate, the guy who was in charge of OceanGate, as everybody knows, went down with the submarine. Stockton Rush. Got a feel for the crew and the passengers of that one. A bit bad. However, what isn't necessarily common knowledge is that there is a second chairman of OceanGate. He's also the chairman of other companies, or director, or whatever you want to call it. And his next project is sending people to Venus, is the idea. It used to be Mars, but now he's choosing Venus. To be honest, bottom of the sea is actually classed as harder than space. But Venus is not exactly the easiest challenge out there. I gotta say, it's pretty inhospitable, high temperatures, high gravity, acid rain, and a few other things. So he's talking about having some kind of hovering colony 30 kilometers off the surface in the atmospheric pressures that humans can take, sort of thing. And it's like, yeah, I'm seeing a problem with this. Big problem. Hovering colony. 30 kilometers up. Like, if you're not just jumping over the side to retrieve your mobile if it drops over the edge, you know what I'm saying? That's a long way down. That's a lot of acceleration. If something goes wrong with this, you're gonna end up flatter than Stockton. Like there won't be anything left. This guy's got a thing for putting human beings in seriously hazardous situations. When I think about it, my brain actually comes to a halt and my mouth stops working, Are you nuts? I mean, I can understand you being nuts, but there are people nuts enough to pay you? What the hell? I suppose it takes all kinds, but jeez. Whoever's investing in that one probably needs a head examining. Or has more money than the head. Might be the case, because Yeah, I've heard some wacky stuff, but 30 kilometre up floating colony. We can't even build a floating ship that doesn't sink. Come on. Worse than that, I mean, geez, your company built a submarine and they're designed to sink and you screwed that up, so I'm not sure about this. I'm not sure about this. NASA's got a body count and I'd think twice about flying with NASA. So yeah, I don't really even do airliners, by the way. The funny thing is I'll fly in things that fly at low altitude but not high. I think it's the pressure thing. Maybe I just don't like the pressure change, who knows. But yeah, so helicopters in, light aircraft out. Don't ask me why, but I class a helicopter as safer than a Cessna. Technically they're all as safe as each other. Somewhere along the line there is a single bolt that holds something on that is essential to your life. It's known in the trades as the Jesus bolt. Any form of transport that has a Jesus bolt probably shouldn't be for the public, by the way. Just so you know. But there we go. That corner's really filling up with material. I am going to have to drill that out before I can use it for anything else. Oh well. That will go in with a load off, one of the two. So yeah, definitely reaching the end of usefulness of this area. It's just a matter of extending the current conveyor system into the hillside, blasting, and then taking this corner out, which isn't going to take me that long in game time. So I'll probably get that done before I film the next section, which will be extending this. So keep an eye out for the video of extending the strip mine. And this extension is where it will become a strip mine, because it will lose a lot of the ceiling at the entrance and actually start to open out. So yeah, that will do the job there. Going to lay some more info in, because it's info and it's there and it needs laying. So at the end of the day, bedrock's well and good, but I want gravel. Lots of gravel. Which I am getting out by the looks of things. That count is going pretty well. Take one up there, just for fun. Like, where you lay the explosives is actually kind of important. If you lay them inside overhangs, the roof will collapse and it will come down. If you lay them on flat vertical surfaces, it just turns it wide. Sometimes it makes a crater, sometimes it doesn't. Just depends. All depends. So yeah, I might put some down here, just for a chuckle. Put that bit in there. See what blows out. Not going to bother with any of that. It is warm tonight here in the UK, by the way. It's like 25 degrees out there still. Weather has changed. It was like 15 degrees in the middle of the day in the middle of last week, and now this. So, thing about the British weather, if you're pissed off with it, don't worry. Give it a couple of days, it'll change. Get a bit of explosives in here and here and here. A lot of this high stuff will probably bring the ceiling down, but what on earth? I mean, I'm having to rethink my career at the moment. I quite like the idea of wiring up explosives in quarries. So anyone who knows which course does that at uni, please let me know. That would be kind of cool. Likewise, I could handle theatre pyrography, pyrotechnics, and I enjoy a bit of fire. I enjoy working with fire, by the way. I'm a bit terrible like that, but at the same time it has been developed by a lifetime of working in steam engineering, so in one way or another. So it's not like I'm just a firebug. I like using fire for a purpose. In the same way, like, you know, fire support is for a purpose. The fact that it blows apart buildings, that's kind of what it's for. The fact that I like cooling it in, yeah, it's just a natural fire thing, okay, I'm sorry. I like fireworks too, but they're just a bit tame these days for me. I got used to bigger ones during 2003. Do like a good blast, and as you can see, that fair amount of materials come down. That material actually is bigger, and that looks like gold in that bit. Might be copper, but yeah. So yeah, brings down a lot of material, ammo, turns a lot into white stuff to be dumped, and kind of handy. So we'll just go and have a quick look see over at where the machines are dumping out, and as you can see, there's very little dirt coming out of the machines at the moment. Very little of anything. Have I suffered a clogging? I don't know, there's some dirt starting to come. There we go. Got a bit worried then. Obviously it took me long enough that the machines ran out. Obviously not too much talking, not enough mining. That's the problem. Too much talking, not enough mining. So yeah, and there was a lot of pay dirt at the start of it. But when I start ripping the ceiling down, things happen. Now, one thing you can do, you get a low point on the ceiling like that, that's kind of annoying. You can just sort of park under it and let it collapse on you. Or you can get up here with some explosives and just use the machine as a piece of scaffolding, really. And get in there. Like that. Don't make that mistake. Don't leave the machine parked under there when you detonate. Just so you know. That dropped a bit more of the ceiling out. Then left what looks like a very dodgy box full. We'll get rid of that one. Can't have stuff like that hanging around. Sorry, children. So yeah, I need to get creative at some point. I really do. And that creative lack that I'm suffering isn't just out of ore, it's across the board, it's in my life, it's everywhere. I will come up with a solution for it, I'm sure. Maybe once I can get my model railway on the go. So that's a bit of fun. Get some videos from that. Clean and innocent fun. Doesn't involve any scary world stuff, and in that world everything works. At least in my head it works. In reality it's a sea of dodgy electrical connections, faults and stuff, but most of the bits that are meant to work, so we'll live with it. I need to find a better way of breaking up rock in this game as well. Something that isn't explosive. Maybe excavators and taking the top off of it might be the way forward. Yeah, we'll see. That all comes under the heading of roleplay. A bit like graders and road building, which are necessary for the dumper trucks, which I'm going to have to get out just to demonstrate them. Maybe that'll be the 100 subscribers reward. I'll play with some dumper trucks. Or even get a bulldozer out and demonstrate how you actually use a bulldozer, because I've seen a few people using it on little shorts and in things people post up, and I got to admit, I use it differently. I don't know whether I'm using it wrong. Anything's possible, right? But yeah, also a way of using the tunneler as a long haul side cutting system, which I've been developing, that I should really demonstrate, because I don't think I've actually shown that off really. So you can use it to drive tunnels, you can use it to cut steps, you can use it as a long hauler. It's quite a varied little piece of kit, the tunneler, but it is a power amplifier. It is not a volume device on its own. You need to understand that. It gives you access in situations where other vehicles can't, and what it does in getting access for these bigger loaders and stuff, it it's a force multiplier. That's the word that they'd use in the military, in the fact that one tunneler can do the damage to the map required to mine acres of other stuff out. If you think about, if I'd cut that little rip with the tunneler, it wouldn't have taken that long, and the next extension work I do on that rip won't take that long either. That'll be another video. But yeah, once you've done that, these side rips you build off of it have no limit. There's no limit in length. You can keep on running in sideways like this for ages and just keep pushing stuff out. Bang, 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 like this. And there, like, you can see the ground growing through these conveyors. The next level won't have that problem and everything just goes in. It's so efficient, it's unreal when you've already undercut it. So you could argue I'm doing everything the wrong way around. I should be starting at the top and working my way down. In some ways that's true, absolutely true. And in some ways, just because of the way I'm doing business, going in underneath and cutting the ceiling down onto a conveyor table is very effective. Very effective way of doing business. So yeah. As you can see, the ceiling isn't very even. I may well, when I go in up there, actually go in a little lower than I should, just to try and take some of that unevenness out. Or I might blast it from above, one of the two. Just drop it down onto this floor, whilst it's still here. And that's the thing, I've got this big floor built down here, I may as well use it, take out the section above and then delete it and it's gone, because I don't have to build it down here again. The next time you build a floor down here, you'll be going downwards. Sort of the idea. But yeah, every ball that goes into the conveyors is one more into your machinery, really. That's the aim of the game here. Just keep putting stuff through those machines in as massive amount as you can. Like, spray it around on these floors. Doesn't matter. You can see it just over the end of the machine there, at the end of the conveyors, just dropping away. And then, yeah, that's a bit more convincing. Much more convincing. So yeah, thanks for viewing. If you've enjoyed the whole hour, I'm amazed, me ranting and raving about nuclear stuff for most of it. Sorry about that. I will stick to the game. I'm kind of knocked for 6 that I've got 100 subscribers. I'm shocked. Really was not expecting that kind of interest at this stage of proceedings. So yeah, thanks to all you guys out there who have stuck with me and viewed it, and thanks to all the subscribers. Keep it coming, people. Keep it coming. Loving it, loving it. And look after yourselves. Good luck in your mine. And yeah, keep it coming. It's great. And I'll keep on trying to bring it to you. Have a good evening, everybody, and look after yourselves. I'll see you soon. Bye for now.